Rishi Sunak and Sir Keir Starmer battle it out for the top job in the country, they can only dream of the polling ratings enjoyed by Queen Camilla. A recent survey conducted by GB News' brand new royal podcast, The Royal Record, reveals that Camilla has over 82% support from GB News members for her performance as the King's spouse and the Queen of the nation. And let's be honest, being married to Charles is not the easiest gig. Whilst a decent and good human being, he's also a famous curmudgeon. A touchy, detail-obsessed, finicky workaholic, our impressive king is a big personality who is not the easiest to manage. As demonstrated by this famous footage in which he struggled with the pen tray. And what about that leaky fountain pen at his coronation? Who was there to step in to lend a helping hand, a word of reassurance, a note of good humour? His no-nonsense wife, a walking human valve in a posh frock, a woman who releases the tension in any situation. And following Elizabeth II as Queen has got to be the hardest task imaginable, given that Camilla's predecessor was arguably the greatest monarch in the history of this country, vying for top place with the formidable ruler of the British Empire, Queen Victoria. Although I quite liked Henry VIII too. An intelligent man, he won plenty of wars, grew the economy, and knew his way around a chicken drumstick. Camilla is no chicken, and she's not foul either. In fact, she's been on quite the journey. Following Elizabeth was not her first big challenge. No. Her first big challenge was following Diana, a global icon, one of the most beautiful and charismatic women the world has ever seen. Camilla was cast as the homewrecker with Diana in that notorious Panorama interview in which she was right royally stitched up by the BBC. Diana said that her marriage to Charles was made up of three people: herself, her husband, and Camilla. But let's not rewrite history. Diana was no angel herself, shopping around romantically, and then some. The truth is that Charles and Camilla should have married in the first place. They were soulmates, they were attracted to each other, and their union was meant to be. Elizabeth forbade it, and with that, the seeds of tragedy were sown. But love will always find a way, and after the profound shock and sadness of Diana's passing, these two lovebirds were able to reunite, and since they married on the 9th of April 2005, they haven't looked back. Even before becoming Queen, Camilla did not put a single foot wrong. Notwithstanding disgusting remarks about her appearance and being horse-like, I've always considered Camilla to be an elegant and attractive woman. In fact, it's amazing how faultless her appearance in public always is, given that royal insiders tell me that she's much more comfortable in a pair of wellies and tracksuit bottoms. You wouldn't know it. For over 2 decades now, Camilla has been discreet, quiet, unobtrusive, never seeking to steal the limelight. She's spoken up for important causes like domestic violence and literacy. She has turned up to the opening of an envelope, cut the ribbon at countless hospital wings. She has smelt more fresh paint than the Dulux factory and sat through endless bagpipe sessions and boring military parades. She's eaten more cucumber sandwiches than you can shake a stick at. In fact, her body is now probably 10% cucumber. Cucumber sandwiches aren't even that nice, which is why Marks and Spencer's don't do them. All of this from a woman who had no ambitions to be queen or indeed a frontline royal. I'm told that the whole thing is not particularly her cup of tea. And I understand that she doesn't enjoy the best of health either. But Camilla cracks on with it, with effort and good grace. Such is her commitment to Charles and the country. How cruel, therefore, that her stepson Harry should describe her in his book Spare as dangerous and a villain. He reportedly begged his father not to marry her in the first place. How can his son not want his old man to be happy? Well, mercifully, Harry's pleas were ignored. And Camilla has become even more important in recent months, with the devastating news of both Charles's cancer diagnosis and that of her amazing daughter-in-law, Catherine. Camilla has supported Charles throughout his illness and joked that in recent months she's struggled to get him to slow down and that he's often a very naughty boy in his recovery. And in February, she led the family at the royal Thanksgiving service. On Elizabeth's passing, many were upset at Charles's decision to declare Camilla Queen rather than Queen Consort. Well, I think she's earned the title. She's every inch a queen. It's been quite the journey from homewrecker and the subject of tabloid gossip to the woman who, alongside the king, leads and represents this country. The royals aren't elected, but if Camilla was, she'd win by a landslide. For 6 weeks, I'm not allowed a political opinion, but let me tell you that Camilla gets my vote. Your reaction, gbnews.com/your say. I'll get to your opinions in just a moment, but first, tonight's top pundits. We have author Jasmine Birtles, TV royalty Christopher Biggins, and Fleet Street legend Nina Mishkov. Great to have all three of you with me. Well, what do you think about this Nina Mishkov? Queen Camilla, every inch the Queen.
Well, do you know, when you're trying to describe their romantic relationship, honestly, past the sick bucket, really, when you think...
I think it's the greatest love affair in history.
Oh, for heaven's sake, Mark! It is.
I think it's better than who have you got? You've got Richard Burton, Elizabeth Taylor, Romeo and Juliet, Charles and Camilla.
Come on, no, for heaven's sake, the misery.
Katie Price and Peter Andre.
The misery that Camilla made Diana go through all those years. And if it was, such a fabulous love story, and they weren't allowed to marry because Charles, well, it was Charles's own fault. He hesitated, and then Camilla went and married Andrew Parker Bowles, and obviously a divorced woman, that was, not allowed at the time, and so that's what happened. And then Diana was served up as a kind of victim, if you like.
Sloppy seconds.
And so I really loathe the fact that she's queen and not Queen Consort. The thought of her there with the crown on her head makes my toes go like that.
I hope you address her as the Queen, though, out of respect.
No, I wouldn't address her as the Queen. I really do not want to meet her.
Nina, that's profoundly...
No, I would not curtsy.
Nina, that's profoundly offensive that you will not address her as Queen. She is Queen.
Well, she's not my queen, thank you very much. And I have no desire to meet her. She's doing a very good job because, as you say, Charles is curmudgeonly and also he's very ill. But isn't it what a terrible state the royal family is, that they are represented by Camilla, who was his mistress for all those years, and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, was reading out some speech of Charles's at a Normandy service. Where was William?
I mean, I've been in broadcasting. I've been in broadcasting for 25 years. I know it doesn't look like I have, but I've never heard such a diatribe, such a poisonous, toxic diatribe in my entire life, Nina Mishkov. This is an amazing human being who will turn up to the opening of an envelope. She sat there next to Charles, who's a difficult human being at the best of times. She hasn't put a foot wrong in 2 decades.
So what?
She is our queen.
Well, Sophie represents the royal family, and she was an ex-PR for Capital Radio. Where are the royals, for heaven's sake? They're trying to put Beatrice forward as this is the face of royalty. They're trying to run the Tyndalls up the flagpole. Oh, Australia has taken the Tyndalls to the heart. You ask any Australians, and they say, who? This is a family, a royal family that is in deep trouble. And if Camilla is to be the saviour of it, God help us.
Well, I got to say, it takes a lot to shock me, Jasmine Birtles. I think that Camilla is every inch the Queen. What's your reaction to what Nina's had to say there?
Oh, I agree with Nina, actually. And I am staggered that you've come up with a 82% approval. Who are these people? It's certainly not representative.
Well, can I tell you, it's the wisest constituency in the United Kingdom. It is GB News members.
Of course,
but it's only 40 people.
Yes.
It's only 40 people.
A lot more than that.
But look,
No,
I mean,
40.
410
most
people, I'm
in
told
this
by
country
Greg.
don't want her. They genuinely don't. If you see her name anywhere on Twitter, you see hashtag not my queen. I mean, yeah, sure, she's sort of, you know, hanging around in a dress, cutting ribbons. If Rishi Sunak was hanging around in a dress, cutting ribbons, I'm sure, you know, he'd get a massive approval rating, you know, amongst those types. But no, absolutely not. I'm not interested in her. I find it irritating that she's called queen rather than queen consort. What about Prince Philip? He was never allowed to be king or king consort even. So what's so special about her? I think it's, you know, hey, I don't have anything against her. I think she's got all sorts of good qualities and, you know, good for her for putting up with Charles, absolutely. But no, I don't think that she's particularly major or interesting at all.
Biggins, I'm shocked by this vicious diatribe. Queen Camilla is a woman of grace. She's attractive. She's supported great causes. She's an amazing wife. She is every inch the queen. She's my queen all day long.
Well, what I have to say is that Princess Diana, who was just the most wonderful person ever, made a lot of mistakes, but her first main mistake was falling in love with her husband. No one explained to her that she had to provide children for the country. And then what happened was that Camilla was still there, even on her wedding night. She was giving him presents and they were talking to each other. So, you know, it is an interesting situation, this whole business. I agree with the girls, funnily enough. I don't think she should have become queen.
Briefly, Biggins, are you suggesting that Charles was diddling Camilla whilst married to Diana?
Yes,
all the time.
Of course.
A Diana
Before,
diddle?
during and after.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
A love sandwich. Oh, my goodness gracious me. Well, listen, it's a family show. There are kids watching. We won't delve. But that's one hell of an allegation. Where's your evidence for that, Biggins?
In my pocket here.
There you go. Well, look, we'll have a look at that later. I don't want to see what else is in your pocket. But